Welcome to PanLab podcast. Actually, in this episode, we're going to try to differentiate between the types of stress because there is a lot of confusion around that, oh, stress is all bad, it's just something you need to be away from. The truth is not like that. In fact, it's a little bit more complicated. Not all type of stress are bad. There are certain stress that you require to perform better. In fact, there is a sufficient amount of stress that you need to experience in order to wake up from a night's sleep. And that is the time we release this class of stress hormone. We do realize that we require to release a sufficient amount of glucocorticoids in the form of cortisol in order to wake up in the morning, right? Otherwise, it's not going to be possible for your system to just be awake, alert, and be conscious and just go for the day. So we release the stress hormone for the same. So it's actually needed. At the same time, the stress that we experience for a very short time period, for few minutes, probably for few hours, or maybe 1 or 2 days, depending upon your capacity of tolerance of stress. So yes, of course, your threshold for stress is going to define a lot how much stress you can endure and how much of that stress is going to actually cause a problem in your lifestyle, in your well-being, in your health. But short term stress in general is actually good for your body. Because what happens in short term stress, it actually triggers that stress response, and that stress response, as soon as it kicks in, it releases epinephrine, norepinephrine, and later on glucocorticoids. Now, the function of these hormones are to make you extremely alert, aroused, awake, focus. So, whenever there is a task ahead, and that's also stressing you out because you're approaching a deadline, that short time experience of stress is actually going to help you by triggering this stress response. Your brain does not differentiate what type of stress is, or what is the duration of stress, or what is the nature of stress. In all the scenarios, the stress response is same. Your heartbeat increases so that it can pump out a lot of oxygen and nutrients to the parts of your body that will be required for your survival, that will be required for you to put up a fight, or in general, more in terms, to actually perform better. So it's going to pump out a lot of oxygen and nutrients to your brain, as a result of which your cognition, your thinking ability is going to be enhanced. You'll be able to think on your feet. Your senses are going to get more sharper, so you'll be more vigilant, you'll be more aware of your senses, you'll be able to hear better, see better, feel better. At the same time, it enhances your immune system. And as soon as you encounter any kind of short term stress, whether it is a jitter of performing in front of a crowd, or you are down with a bacterial or viral infection, in both these scenarios, your body, when it triggers the stress response, it's actually going to make your immune system deploy those killer cells which are going to be attacking these incoming bacterial and viral infection. So it helps. So if you are just about to get ill, or you are sensing that you're going to catch a cold or a fever, you can actually put your body under that stress response and it can help you recover from it better. On the contrary, if your body does not respond to stress, short term stress, that stress response does not kick in within few seconds, then the illness can be prolonged. It's not going to work in your favor. So we have got Addison's disease and we have got shy dragger syndrome. These are two conditions, or rather we could say that it's a disorder where your glands do not release or synthesize enough sufficient stress hormones, and as a result of which your body cannot really respond to any stress in an effective manner. So if you're going to be facing any dangerous situation, or if any kind of psychological situation that requires you to mobilize your energy and act in that moment and do various other things, will be impaired and hampered. So you're not going to feel the urgency and the need of facing those challenges and coming out of those problems successfully. So there is a deficiency of cortisol stress hormone in these diseases. So now you can just imagine that stress is something that we need. It is necessary part of our lives. It's actually good to us to some extent. And it helps us to even recover, get into that recovery from exactly like the inflammation does. Inflammation is not bad. You do require your body to have an inflammatory response so that that response can take care of the injury sites in your body. If you get injured and you get a wound, and if the inflammation response and the stress response do not trigger in, the wound won't heal. It's body's way of mobilizing those tools and those, it's like, body's way of sending ambulance to that injury site and letting those doctors and the nurses, do the repair and putting that condition onto it where the repair and recovery happens. So we do require some amount of inflammation and stress in our body and stress response. The problem arises when that short-term stress start becoming chronic stress or a long-term one. Going to medium-term stress is that stress which goes on for more than couple of days, maybe couple of weeks, but not more than that. Again, depending upon your capacity. For a person A, maybe 1 week of continuous stress could be a medium term, something that they can manage easily. Whereas for person B, their personalities can be more inclined towards feeling more anxious, and they're more sensitive towards pain and stress. So even few days of stress can be extremely chronic for them. We're going to talk about these propensities of personalities in the coming episodes. So medium term stress is that sort of stress that we can learn to manage, and we can generally manage. Like, okay, you have a rough couple of weeks, maybe an important assignment that you have to deliver within 2 weeks. Okay, you have an exam that goes on for 2 weeks to a month probably. Can still, your body is absolutely capable of tolerating, managing this medium term stress. It doesn't break down that easily. In fact, it takes a lot for your body to break down. It is so equipped and it's so well adapted to manage these scenarios of stress, to combat stressful situations, even when those situations goes on for weeks to maybe months. So threshold, now when we talk about medium term stress, our threshold, our capacity to endure that stress becomes even more important. And there is a way to actually increase your threshold. We talked about physiological sigh in the previous episode, which was a breathing technique of double inhale and single exhale to calm yourself down by turning on the parasympathetic nervous system, that tone of your nervous system which is responsible for making you feel relaxed, calm, peaceful. And it works in the moment. At right this point, it's going to work. But how do we increase the threshold? Yes, of course, exercising, eating the right diet. Sleep is very important, taking a proper sleep, sound sleep, good sleep. But apart from that, there is a breathing technique called cyclic breathing or Wim Hof type of breathing or tumor breathing. So Wim Hof was a person who actually performed and practiced this type of breathing while he put himself to extreme conditions of climate and living. So he was going out wandering for days and months in extreme conditions like in ice, in forest, and he used to perform this type of cyclic breathing to trigger this stress response and increase his threshold of taking these stressful scenarios and situation. It's well documented. You can find it on YouTube, you can find it on Google if you really want to know. And if you would want, I'll put a link also in the description for you to learn more about it. What exactly is cyclic breathing? Cyclic breathing is your this quick, short inhale, exhale done continuously for 15, 20, 25 times. Then followed by a long inhale, holding that breath for 15 seconds, 5 to 15 seconds, and then releasing that with a long exhale. And you do it in a cycle. That's why it's cyclic or cyclic breathing. So you're going to do this quick, short inhale, exhale, maybe 20 times like this. Preferably do it with your nose. If you're not able to, then maybe you can use your mouth, but it would be better if you use your nasal breathing. And then, after doing like this for 20 to 25 times, you take a breath in, hold it for a few seconds, and exhale that out. Please do not perform these kind of breathing exercises if you have any problem related to your nasal breathing, to your lungs, to any form of the breathing, asthma, or anything. And I'm not saying that just to protect myself, but it's more importantly to inform you not to put yourself in any risky or dangerous situation before trying out any of these behavioral tools that are being explained here. I'm just trying to explain the tools which are being out there in science and is in research. But before you adopt them, if you're going through any health problem, any health issue, no matter how small it is, please talk to your advisor, please talk to your physician, your doctor, before you perform any of these activities. And they're definitely not to be done near water, because some people can experience a complete like breathlessness while doing this sort of breathing. So be very careful, be very wise. Coming back, this sort of cyclic breathing activates your brain to trigger stress response. And as a result of triggering that stress response, your enhanced immunity for that short time period, your enhanced cognition, your brain activity, your enhanced senses help you to perform better in that stressful scenario, or it actually increases your threshold, your capacity to tolerate stress over a time period if you're continuously practicing it. So that's why these techniques become important, given that you are in a good health to perform them. Another tool that can help trigger the stress response so that you release all those stress hormones and all those neurotransmitters and chemicals in your body, which you essentially do while exercising, while workout, so that your body actually perform better, it actually receive a better level of oxygen and nutrients in that response activation. And the other thing is, that thing is cold exposure and cold shower. Now again, cold exposure has become quite popular in past few years, and for very good reasons. The science is very solid behind it. I'm going to link the paper if you for your reference. Exposing yourself to maybe extremely cold shower or ice, sitting in ice bucket, or basically exposing yourself to a cold just for few seconds, coming out of it, then again going back, exposing yourself for few seconds, then coming out of it. Doing this for a couple of times actually again prepare your brain and body to deal with stressful and challenges and physical stresses and any kind of emotional problems in a much better manner, by training your stress response, by inducing that stress response and training your system to kill any kind of infection that is already there that might lead to a cold or fever in the coming days. In fact, I do it a lot. Whenever I feel a kind of an itch in my throat, or I feel something, weird going in my nose, and I get this sensation that maybe probably I'm going to fall ill and catch cold, and I hate catching cold. It's very irritating for me. It makes me absolutely non-functional. So during that time, I'm going to do this 5 minutes of quick exercise, like exercise that requires my heartbeats to really, really increase. So I'm generating this artificial stress scenario by working out, and I'm increasing my heartbeat deliberately. I'm going to do that for like 5-7 minutes. I'm going to do the cyclic kind of a breathing. And then in a few hours, I'm not going to feel that itch. In fact, I'm not actually going to fall ill. It has worked many times for me. So maybe you also can try it given what your conditions and context is. This literally helps you and prepares and trains your body ability to tolerate more stress in the future without that stress going chronic and long term for you and damaging you in a manner that you can fall prey to different sort of diseases. So that was your short term stress, medium term stress, the ways to increase your threshold. So we talked about a behavioral tool also here. Now, in the next episode and the coming episodes, we'll be talking all about long-term stress and the diseases related due to this chronic long term stress, either directly, indirectly, how it actually happens. How do people get cardiac arrest, especially sudden cardiac arrest, hypertension, diabetes, all the complications? So it's going to be even more serious. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to PanLab Podcast. I'm Akansha, I'm a psychologist and an independent researcher. Thank you for giving your time to science and psychology. I hope you remain safe and get more information. If you like what we are doing here, the information that we are providing, the knowledge we are trying to spread, if you like that, please show your support by subscribing and sharing it to the people who might benefit from this kind of information. Thank you.